My people, I think it's time for us to dive more into the technical side of my life. Well, I have an announcement. First things first, I'm getting a new tattoo. It's the logo of my own company, but I'm getting it the way that it was designed by like the actual brand. The branding woman was beautiful. Anyways, uh, I did a video 2 days ago explaining how my mind transitioned after seeing something explained and it connected in my head differently. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to explain right now the technical aspect of a website, which allows us to kind of like, which would allow you to understand the video a bit differently. I don't know what to say, but I feel like I need to do a better job at explaining why this made a difference with me. And ultimately, if we're to look at a website, I it's a it's it's two dimensions, right? So what we look at is we look at a button or like a square with like something inside and another square and like a border somewhere. Basically, these are things that are located in places. Each one of them looks differently in code, but all of them have the same concept. Like it's a box because sometimes you have an image with like some letters inside of it. That's a big box for the image and a big box for the letter and maybe inside a bigger box. Now, that is the HTML side. And it's as simple as just putting stuff inside stuff. And because it's two dimensional, you get to see them like in front of you. Like literally, when you see different words next to each other, like each word is its own element inside of like a bigger element that contains them. And it's funny because like the entire styling of HTML when it first started was like a box styling kind of way. But that's where CSS, cascading style sheets, CSS. It's a language, it's a beautiful language, but it's a design style language. And what it does is it basically like fucks with the boxes that you have. So if I have a box that I want like a border this thick, I literally go to the CSS part of the code and I go border 2 fucking pixels, 5 pixels, and I mess with it. So this is me attempting to explain CSS. Maybe I want it to have curved, so like basically rounded. Maybe I'm thinking Tailwind. But anyways, like you can do a lot of stuff with the borders. You can do a lot of stuff with the font. You can do a lot of stuff with the shade. You can do a lot of stuff with shadows. You can do a lot of stuff, even transitions, because sometimes you want to start with this color, and over a period of 10 seconds, you want to switch to a different color. And that language beautifully does that to you. But there's a small caveat to that language, as in, like in every single box you're working with, you kind of have to create something for it. So this is how I want this box to design, and I write everything inside there. But what if another box has like similar features, like the rounded part? You want to include it in every other like box. Do you do the same? Do you write different code for all of them, or do you kind of like unite them under like bigger things? So for CSS, it's we call them classes because like you write a class for a certain thing and then you connect it to the box, and then once the box is connected to this style, it takes over that style, and every box inside of that box takes over that style as well, unless we want to change the boxes inside of them. So it's basically just a cascading effect. When people looked at it, we're like, all right, but like, do I really want to be a full-blown designer for me to be able to like build a random website? And so other people started deciding on different things. One person was like, you don't have to think of the classes, we'll create them for you. So they created a library like Bootstrap. What Bootstrap does, and again, like we don't really care, Bootstrap, what it does is basically it just saves classes and allows you to use them instead of creating them yourself. And you name them a certain kind of way for you to call the classes. It's just like they created their own way of designing. And then other libraries started showing up as well, each one with their own style. My favorite is basically Tailwind CSS because it splits everything into its own class. Like rounded, it's its own class. So you'll be able to explain exactly every single box how you want it without having to worry about the code basically bloating or just jumping to different things. Everything is right in front of you. So the guy was trying to the guy was trying to explain something on the code on the video that I was watching, and he was describing just like a simple drop-down menu and what he called accessibility. And that's something I never considered before because I was like, write the code, khalas, people can see it. But what about people that can't see well, for example, and are using the internet? They need to be able to access like some things. What about people that are not using the mouse? They're using keyboards. So all of these are like I have to consider these users while actually preparing for code and thinking about them. And when the guy was actually explaining how he's writing the code, he looks around and he goes like, let's give it a class for CSS, which is drop down. And it clicked in my head because like what he was doing, he was personalizing that small box. He was creating some, for me at least, it created a personal connection between me and the box and kind of gave it life. So what started going through my head was like, okay, so for the first time ever, I started imagining if I actually press on this button, is the box going to grow from the center, or is it going to just show up, or is it going to just magically appear, or is it going to drop down? And I started like thinking about these in a way that I never did before. And naturally, that's where I kind of like when you look at something and you realize like you're looking at it from as if it's completely new because everything you've built in your head towards it has literally accumulated and I can style, I can design. It's not that big of a deal, but I'm not really creative about it. And maybe because I just do what I have to do to get the end result that I want. There's no really like there's no goals that I would want to achieve as I'm actually like designing and styling. I haven't been able to like unlock that skill yet. I haven't been able to understand how to apply a certain kind of logic in order to like express more with these kinds of things. And keep in mind, like I'm very conscious about wanting to do that because I really see myself anytime I want to do something that I'm able to do, how smoothly it comes out of me. And I want to be able to build this kind of like talent towards other skills and to be able to lock them and to separate myself and to be able to engage with them differently and code in multiple levels or just be able to kind of like flow and not necessarily feel like stuck in certain things. And that personalization reminded me as well because I was writing something about while I was kind of like going through my own head and sifting some stuff. I was writing something about like if you want an idea to succeed, you have to give her life. And what I meant by give her life is like if this was something to survive, there are things that contribute to its survival that are very much necessary. And once you handle them, then you could kind of like experiment with different stuff. But you need survival as a basics. And I remember at that point I was taking a note and I was like, if you think of the olden times, like people never used to feel personal on this earth because every single day for them was a quest to survive, find food. There are food shortages, there are this, there are that, there are floods, there are plagues, there are sicknesses. So people every single day were pushing themselves to survive, and which allowed them to kind of like engage with like the real world in a more objective manner, like what would kill me versus what would like not actually kill me. And by approaching things from a third person's perspective, they were able to kind of like engage, depersonalize themselves. Well, the modern world allows you to be a bit more personal, but losing that objectivity as well kind of like fucked us up the ass because you need to be able to see things clearly how they are and then form a personal relationship with them. And then, after forming a personal relationship with them, to be able to see that relationship as it is. So it's kind of like a balance between like being subjective and objective towards things. And it's funny I'm mentioning it right now because like when he was explaining it, it gave me a subjective approach to it. And I've never actually considered that to be kind of like something that it would come out of me, especially when it comes to design. Even though I want to spend time on design, I'm still more interested in understanding the tool that I'm using and how to actually write code with it in order for me to be able to to pursue my goal of walking across my country and basically day after day just putting people on my actual platform and like building towards it and having this YouTube channel kind of like be my promotion and be my structure and be my explanation and all right, so like no, I'm already telling you about this stuff, which means I have to start opening my mouth, and I did promise you after like 11, after like the 100th small video. So my goal is to open a different video, a different YouTube channel, which is for the actual platform. And my goal is for to be a good enough programmer where if I'm meeting somebody right now and we discuss a certain thing which could actually be testable or something that we could do, it would literally take 5 minutes or an hour or 2 days. I don't know what it takes. And I'd just sit there and I'd actually write it down. And after I finish, I actually apply it. And then I actually have the feedback that's going to come from whatever that I'm doing. So I want to be proficient enough for me to be able to kind of like know what I have to do, know how to do what I would want to do, and just go explore what I would want to do and how I would build the platform. And I want to basically document that and like YouTube everything. Super cool. I think that'll be awesome. But I'm gonna take the other video to explain to you my plan towards my platform. And then from there, maybe kind of like start elaborating more on it as we start proceeding. Thank you for listening to me explain what styling and CSS means in the programming world and basically HTML boxes.